Yeah, I'd like to say something about the reasons of Islamic revolution in Iran. So I watched the video, and in general, in Western, sorry, in Western media, there is such a view of situation in Iran before the revolution, was that there was a pro-Western Shah. Shah, it means a king in Iranian in Iran. So there was a pro-Western Shah, and all the people can drink alcohol, can wear everything they want, and he was very pro-Western, as I said, and and uh, and after the overthrow, after he was overthrown, it come Islamist regime, and and Iran started to be so close country, just with a restriction, with a freedom restriction, so on. But the policy is a science, and we cannot to see the problems, or to to see the problems without the historical views, without the analyze what was happening in Iran. So, yeah, it was a pro-Western government under the Shah Reza Pahlavi, but he was a pro-Western, but he was a dictatorship. He was under a very oppressive regime, and he was very authoritarian leader. And in Iran, under the Shah, was not very good for everyone. There was not just in general happy, all was happy, and clerics come and say that we will overthrow this Shah. No, there was a big economic and social problems, because the most people of Iranians were very poor, and it was a very oppressive regime, as I said, and a lot of people was arrested, was under investigate for their political views. There was a Savak, a secret police in Iran. They tortured a lot of people, and we cannot say that Iran was a pro-democratic or democratic country, pro-Western, and there was just like just in Dutch, in Germany, or just like in France, Italy. No, there was a very oppressive regime, and the people was very poor, and they saw, or because there was not so TVs as for example in the United States in the 17th. The revolution has started in 1978. So, but people see and people know that a lot of Iranians were very poor, especially in small countries, especially young people. But Shah lives very luxury. We know how it was a big Persepolis. There is a city in Iran, Persepolis. How Shah make a very big a party, maybe not party, but just a very big party, and a lot of foreign leaders come to Iran, and he spent millions, maybe milliards dollars for celebration of the 2000 of Iranian state, not for solution, not for the make people to grow their life standards. No, it was a typical authoritarian regime, because authoritarian regime is not interested to make the people of the country life better. They not try to form to you know to spend money for economic reforms. Because no one authoritarian regime wants economic reforms, because it is a challenge for them. So in Iran was a very very deep social problems. there was no political freedoms at all. And in these circumstances, when the Shah was authoritarian leader, was authoritarian king, when there was a savak, when there was a mass repression, and it's no matter, you can drink alcohol or you can wear anything. In Spain, for the Franco regime, they can drink alcohol and wear whatever they want. In the Soviet Union, people drink alcohol, but Soviet Union was maybe one of the most worst authoritarian regime by the Stalin government or by the other Soviet leaders, or in Chile, So if the women wear something like what they want, or the people drink alcohol, it's not mean that this is a free country, as say about Iran. Yeah, Iran was under the Shah. The people drink alcohol and work. So what? So is it the demonstrations that they have a high level of wealth? No, of course for not, because the political science, the polity is supposed to easy science. So when we say about something, about we should learn, investigate the reasons why this revolution started, and that was two reasons why. The first, and maybe I don't know, I cannot say was the first or was the second, but the worst situation. Every year the situation was worse and worse. The people was poor. There saw no any prosperity for them, and the politically it was a repressive regime. So people will go to the started. The crowd was in the street in 1978, in the end of the 1978, when the revolution has started. Why it was Islamic revolution, I can say, I can add a little, because Iranians are the Muslim country, and the people in Iran are Muslims. So if you want to say something, if you want to to say something for Muslims, of course you should say about such things that is in Islam, because you cannot understand, you cannot just say for ordinary Muslim about some democracy, because just some democracy slogan. If you want Muslim to understand you, you should say something about something from the Islam, from the Quran, from the Hadith. You cannot just say about you cannot to say with Muslim as you say, for example, in the people who live in Europe, for example, in the non-violation revolution, for example, and then in the Serbia, or in Ukraine, or in 18th in Solidarność in Poland, you shouldn't say that about something about Islam, because they are not Islam, they are Muslims. They are not Muslims. But in Iran, the main power of the protest was the traditional ideology, it is Islam, and the second was leftist groups, and the supporting of leftist group was, of course, intelligence. I mean, not intelligence, but intelligentsia. Just people who are students, or they read book. So there was a two power. More massive Muslims, clerics, and less massive but very educated, well-educated people who support leftists in Iran. But leftist has no leader as had Islamist, because even under the rule of Shah, he cannot arrest the leader of the Iranian revolution. He cannot arrest Imam Khomeini. He was under home arrest, then he moved to Iraq, and then to move to France. Because the clerics was a strong institution in Iran. However, there was under Shah regime, they cannot make a free policy, But as don't like say the pro-Shah powers, Iranians in general, especially in that time, was religious, especially people who lives in a village or in big religious city as Qom, as Isfahan and other. So that was the reason of this revolution. There is no political rights, there is no political freedoms, and there is a very hard economic and social situation. And there was two main powers who was against this, who said about this, who want to change. It was first of all Shia clerics and the leftists, and as we say that after the revolution, the Shia clerics and the leftists was together to overthrow this regime. And when this overthrow, of course, Islamists were more powerful. There has more supporters from the people than the leftists, and then they just as now and since 1978, when the revolution has won, they just started Shah regime's policy. There is no change actually. Yeah, the change that they banned alcohol, they banned music, they banned free voting was that, yeah. But the regime is now like in the Shah regime. There is no political freedoms, and there is a very awful social situation in Iran now. So why I record this video, I now watching another video in YouTube, when then I say that everything was fine. Iranians are not so religious. Yeah, it's true, they are not so religious, but they're generally Muslim country, So have a similar Muslim identities, similar Muslim ideologies, something. No, I don't mean ideologies, but I mean that Iranians are not as Spains, are not the Portugals, or are not the Brazilians, They have a more similar with other Muslim countries, with Pakistanians, with Bangladeshians, with Turks, with Arabs, the Muslims. So that was a dream. That was a reason. That was a reason of this revolution. So it is false to think that everything was good and clerics started to this revolution and everything started even worse than were. Everything was worse, was not good, everything in Iran under the Shah regime. Because if you can drink alcohol or where you want to war, it does not decide your problems. Because there is unemployment, very high unemployment. There is no prosperity for the young people. There is no political freedom. There is nothing. And that revolution started of these reasons. Thank you very much.